So think about it for a second. This human need to understand where everything, well, comes from. This idea of a supreme creator, it pops up everywhere, doesn't it?
It really does. It's a fundamental question.
Exactly. And today we're going to follow that thread over to West Africa, to the really incredible Benin Kingdom. Historically, in what's now southern Nigeria.
A truly remarkable place.
Yeah.
Sophisticated art, especially the bronzes, a really organized government structure.
And a very deep, complex spiritual life woven into everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And right at the heart of that spiritual world is Osanobua, sometimes called Osalo or Osanobua.
Right.
For the Edo people, the people of Benin, Osanobua isn't just a god, but the ultimate source, the creator of, well, everything. Not just, say, the weather or the harvest, but the entire universe.
The origin point for all existence.
Precisely.
Okay. So, yeah, what we want to do in this deep dive is really get a handle on Osanobua's significance in that Benin spiritual tradition. We'll look at creation, how governance, both divine and earthly, is understood, and trace that influence through to today. The idea is to give you a clear but pretty thorough understanding.
Sounds good. Where should we start? Creation itself.
Let's do it. How is the creation story generally understood?
Well, the traditions describe Osanobua bringing everything into being. The heavens, the earth, the waters.
The whole cosmos.
The whole cosmos. And crucially, all living things. But it wasn't just a chaotic event. It was seen as being infused with life, yes, but also with a fundamental order right from the start.
Okay, order. That leads to this really interesting idea about how Osanobua actually governs this creation. It's not like constant micromanagement, is it?
No, not directly intervening in every little thing.
Yeah.
The understanding is more of an indirect rule. Osanobua governs through, let's call it a divine system.
A system.
Yeah, where responsibilities are delegated, assigned to lesser gods, different kinds of spirits, and importantly, the ancestors too. They all have their roles within this ordered universe.
That's fascinating because it sounds very much like, well, it mirrors the way the Benin Kingdom itself was structured politically, doesn't it?
Exactly. That's a key point. You have the Oba, the king, at the center, holding ultimate authority. But he delegates. He assigns duties and power to a hierarchy of chiefs, elders, different officials. It's a parallel structure.
So it's not just a coincidence they consciously saw their own system as reflecting a divine order.
That seems to be the understanding, yes. They were trying to build their society, their kingdom, on the model of the perfect order they believed Osanobua had established. And, you could argue that this concept of a balanced, delegated system, both spiritual and earthly, really contributed to the kingdom's stability over such a long period.
Okay, so Osanobua is supreme, the creator, the ultimate authority, but maybe perceived as a bit distant. Not in a cold way, but not directly involved day to day.
Distant isn't quite the right word, perhaps. It's more that Osanobua's presence is the foundational reality, the bedrock. It's felt, but maybe not through constant direct interaction in mundane affairs.
Right. So how then do people relate to or interact with Osanobua?
Well, prayer is very important. People pray directly to Osanobua.
And what are they seeking?
Often, things like peace, both personal and communal. Wisdom is a big one. Healing, guidance, the fundamental needs really directed towards the ultimate source.
And Osanobu's presence is acknowledged at key moments too, right? Not just in times of trouble.
Definitely. Significant life events. Childbirth is a major one. Initiation ceremonies, funerals. There's an understanding that Osanobua is involved overseeing these transitions.
And this connects to beliefs about the soul, I imagine.
It does, very deeply. The core belief is that each person's soul originates from Osanobua.
Ah, okay.
And after death, the soul undertakes a journey, ultimately returning to Osanobua. So there's this cycle, born from the divine source and returning to it. It creates a very direct personal link.
That's quite profound. And these ideas, they often find expression in traditional stories, don't they? There's one about Osanobua's children that seems particularly relevant here.
Ah, yes, that's a very famous and insightful one. The story goes that Osanobua gathered his children and offered them choices, various gifts they could take with them into the world. Things representing wealth, power, different kinds of skills, knowledge.
All the things humans strive for. But one child, the youngest, chose differently.
That's right. Amidst all these sort of tangible or powerful options, the youngest child chose wisdom.
Wisdom.
And this pleased Osanobua greatly. So much so that he didn't just grant wisdom. He gave an additional gift.
Which was?
The gift of balance. The ability to, let's say, walk through the world, navigate its challenges in harmony. to understand things in relation to each other.
Wow. Okay, so what does that story tell us about the values prized in Edo culture? Why wisdom and balance over, say, pure power or riches?
It really speaks volumes, doesn't it? It highlights how highly wisdom and perhaps humility were valued. The youngest chose insight, not domination or wealth. And Osanobu's reaction reinforces that. True understanding, a balanced perspective, these are seen as ultimately more valuable, more essential for a good life than just material gain or brute force.
It's really powerful, and it's amazing how these beliefs, these stories, they haven't just faded away. What's the situation today? How much does Osanobua still figure in Benin life?
Oh, the influence is still very much alive. You see it in Benin itself and also in the Ido diaspora communities around the world.
How does it manifest?
Well, one very common example is the phrase Osanobua no gi,
Meaning?
God is king, or more broadly, acknowledging Osanobu's supreme place. You hear it used constantly in greetings as a blessing, in prayers. It's woven into the language of daily life.
And obviously, like many places, Benin has seen other religions come in over time. Christianity, Islam.
That's true, and they have significant followings. But what's really notable is how the traditional beliefs centered on Osanobua have continued alongside them. It's often not in either situation for many people.
So coexistence rather than replacement.
Very much so. Those traditional ways of understanding the world, they persist. You find them embedded in proverbs and rituals and ceremonies that are still performed, in big cultural festivals, and just in the everyday interactions and outlook of many Edo people.
So it's clear Osanobu isn't just some figure from ancient history locked away in books.
Not at all. It's more like a living spiritual thread. Still part of the fabric of life, a really important source of cultural identity and meaning for many.
When you think about it more broadly, this idea of a supreme being who embodies order, wisdom, harmony, why do you think that continues to resonate, especially today in a world that often feels pretty chaotic?
That's a great question. I mean, perhaps there's a deep human longing for order, for meaning, for a sense that things aren't just random. And the qualities associated with Osanobua wisdom, balance, creation itself speak to that longing.
And that story of the children.
Exactly. If you distill the message from that story, it's partly about humility, valuing wisdom, but also maybe about seeing ourselves as part of a bigger picture. The idea that finding balance, treating each other and the world with respect, maybe that's the path to, well, a more peaceful way of being, individually and collectively. It's a timeless message, really.
So, wrapping up our deep dive here, we've really seen Osanobua as the central figure in Benin belief, the ultimate creator, governing through this ordered, delegated system.
Embodying those key values: order, wisdom, balance.
And crucially, an influence that's not just historical, but continues to shape culture and identity for the Edo people right now.
Absolutely. A continuous thread.
Which brings us to maybe a final thought for you listening at home. When you start looking at how different cultures conceptualize the divine, the role of a supreme being or ultimate reality, what kinds of common ground do you find? And what are the truly unique perspectives that emerge?
Yeah, exploring those different ways of understanding our place in the universe. It can offer some really profound insights, can't it? Something to ponder.